Hello friends, it's good to see you here again on LevelHead, the show dedicated to appreciating the more clever architecture of the interactive medium. My name is Sunder, and today I'll be your guide as we oversee a budding theme park and guide you through adversity into riches and glory. Today is something a little different than the norm of LevelHead. It's an iconic simulation game from my childhood developed in 1999 by Chris Sawyer. Today we're talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon. This classic PC game is centered around building an amusement park and achieving preset goals under numerous conditions and in varied landscapes and environments. To complete these goals, you're given the ability to customize and build roller coasters and thrill rides however you wish. Iconic may be an understatement. Any PC gamer knows Roller Coaster Tycoon. It single-handedly spurred on numerous Tycoon spin-offs and clone games and is highly regarded by fan and critic alike. I think it's important to stress that not all level design has to do with platforming and teaching tools, and an isometric simulation game is about as far as I can get from a 2D platformer. There are many levels in Roller Coaster Tycoon and each brings its own charm and challenges, but the one I've chosen to examine is Vertigo Views.
I suppose a few of you are wondering how level design works in a simulation game. Heck, I want you to be wondering how it works. The standard levels in the original release of Roller Coaster Tycoon had varied numbers attached to the basic goal of have X amount of guests in your park by Y date with a park rating of at least Z. This meant that in order to make the levels interesting, the layout of each park had to be drastically different, which led to parks in forests, lakes, craters, tiny and cramped parks, parks in airstrips, deserts, you name it. The thing is, the gameplay doesn't massively change aside from the location and the variable numbers, so while aesthetically things felt different, realistically most of the levels played the same way. That is, until the second expansion RCT, Loopy Landscapes, dropped the year following its release. Loopy Landscapes did much the same as its previous expansion, Corkscrew Follies, in introducing new rides and attractions to use as well as new maps, but the biggest addition was the variety to scenarios. Anybody familiar with Loopy Landscapes will know the infamous level Arid Heights, which is the map that gives you infinite money and a huge landscape, and your only goal was to not let your park drop below a fairly high rating of 700. It was a drastic change from the time-constrained goals revolving around the amount of people in your park. The standard formula of beating old levels in Roller Coaster Tycoon was to use advertising campaigns as often as possible and have a half-decent park, but the new maps weren't so easily conquered. This brings me back to Vertigo Views. It's the first unlockable scenario in Loopy Landscapes, meaning that after you get a taste of Arid Heights, or whichever map you chose to beat, the first thing to follow it up is an objective that's not only interesting, but incredibly unique. To beat this level, you need to achieve a monthly income of $8,000 from rides alone. You're given a huge roller coaster to start you off, and it's one that is comfortably charging over $5 a ride, no less. This sets the stage for you, showing you a huge ride and letting you know that there are guests willing to pay a high amount to ride it, encouraging you to make good rides that people will want to pay for, and there's plenty of room to do that. Even zoomed out all the way, you can barely fit the entire map in your screen at once. The juxtaposition is that the terrain, unlike Arid Heights, is hills and trees, which is either difficult to build on top of or expensive to landscape. This is one of the reasons why I love this level. Hilly terrain and lots of objects makes it very difficult to use pre-made roller coaster designs. Do you see why this is so clever? It makes it a pain for you to take the easy way out and build a whole bunch of already tested and safe roller coasters to drag in money. It gives stern encouragement for you to try to make cool stuff on your own, stuff that will be unique to this level and this experience. The level is literally built to reinforce the whole concept behind the entire game. Since there's no time limit to this level, it really has the opportunity to reinforce all the new things in Loopy Landscapes. Considering that you'll be making rides as your main source of revenue, and also considering that it takes a ton of rides to hit $8,000 of monthly income, you'll likely pay off your loan without a problem. And since your loan will be paid off, you'll likely begin amassing a ton of excess money. With this money, you can easily pour the maximum amount into research and development, funding new attractions per month, which means you'll be able to work with all of the new coasters and rides at your disposal. And you're definitely going to need to work with almost all of them. The park you're looking at right now is only making $6,000 monthly, and I've already jammed it full of every thrill ride at my disposal, along with a slew of huge roller coasters. You may also notice that my starting coaster is gone. That's because after so many times breaking down along with age, some coasters have fatal malfunctions, and the one I was started with crashed and killed several guests. This made me really take a step back and examine the longevity of all my other coasters. I had to reassess their designs in case something like this were to happen again. And since guests' wallets aren't limitless, even after making sure you have a wide assortment of rides that are all safe, you still have to keep making new ones to draw in new guests to the park. A guest with a single dollar left on him isn't doing anything for your park aside from taking up space. And speaking of space, if you want your guests to stay happy, you're gonna have to make sure you have a lot of room for them to walk around, but not empty space. They'll start getting lost if the path isn't lined with things to do. There's a lot of depth to balancing these things in a way that is much more fleshed out and realized in Vertigo Views than any other previous scenario. Seriously, all the talk about forcing you to play a certain way and build rides a certain way and so on and so forth is an element of design in and of itself. While you're busy stressing over your ride safety and development and park expansion, you could very easily lose sight of the numerous other things that you need to be monitoring, such as handyman and park cleanliness, security guards and vandalism, food, drinks, bathrooms, mechanics and making sure your rides get fixed in a timely manner, pathing and making walkways easy to navigate. The list goes on and on. So you see, Vertigo Views was put together with the intention of pushing you to your creative limits, building unique rides as the game always intended. It makes it fun by rewarding your best coasters with high income and popularity, driving you towards your goal. It provides challenge through unruly terrain and tempts your hunger to expand with a large space to work in, and even misdirects you away from all of the other important stuff that you have to keep squared away. It's a great showcase of clever design in a non-linear game, leaving most of the experience up to the player, but not using that as a crutch to under-design.
Roller Coaster Tycoon is a wonderful simulation game that ties together the interesting points of running a business with the fun and relaxation of a sandbox game. Despite being 15 years old, it really holds up well to this day. If you're planning on picking yourself up a copy of this game, which I highly recommend, I suggest going to Good Old Games or GOG.com. Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 was the high point in the series, and they have both included in their soundtracks and all their expansions for extremely reasonable prices.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more episodes of LevelHead in the future, hit the like button and subscribe. If you want to see more, click the annotation and watch the last episode on Super Meat Boy. This has been Sunder, and I will see you next time.